And good evening, everyone. So, thank you for the warm welcome. So, I'm honored to be a part of this webinar exploring the power of AI in plant pest and the disease control, and building a stronger biosecurity. So, I'm Dr. T. Anukiruthika along with Dr. Dikvir Jayas. We are going to present about AI-driven grain storage solution, exploring the current technologies, applications, and the future trends. Today, I invite you to the world of the grain storage, those quiet silos that feed the world, but inside which there exist several challenges, threats like pest and the spoilage that challenges daily food security. So, in this context, AI is not just a tool, but a game changer that enables the smarter monitoring, predictive decisions, and sustainable resilient storage system. Together, let's explore how the AI technology, along with the agriculture, can strengthen our grain chains and our global food systems for the future. So, to understand why AI matters in grain storage, let's take a step back and look at the challenges we are up against and how the technology is stepping in transforming the way we store and protect our food grains. Over 30% of the global food grains is lost during the post-harvest stage, mainly because of the pest issues that further worsened by the climate change. So the existing traditional analytical methods are reactive and often are late. So the AI, the intervention of AI offers a smarter way in enabling the real-time monitoring, predictive maintenance, and a proactive quality control. So today I will share how AI is transforming the grain storage from the current tools to the future innovations. So let's start with the background of the overview of the grain storage ecosystem. AI in action providing the smart storage solutions, case studies highlighting the applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning in smart storage management, future outlooks, socio-economic and environmental impacts of AI and machine learning in grain storage, and the key takeaways. So now let's dive into what's driving that change, how AI and the machine learning are reshaping the grain storage ecosystem from the ground up. So grain storage is regarded as a artificial man-made ecosystem where understanding of the multiple simultaneous interactions among the biotic and the abiotic variables could be simplified with the advent of AI. So the food grains could be conveniently and smartly managed using AI to acquire, organize, analyze, and integrate to provide the solutions for the food safety problems. So the applications of artificial intelligence technologies deliver a smart solution by transforming the raw data into the computer models to a value-based system. So thus these technologies are making our storage systems more smarter, safer, and more efficient. Now let's explore how these AI technologies are being applied in the real world grain systems, optimizing every step from the production to the processing, distribution, and the consumption. So the artificial intelligence enhances the grain management across the entire food supply and distribution chain from farm to fork. It forecasts the yield predictions and also predicts the prices and optimizes the logistics. And during the transit of the commodities, it tracks the load as well as the predictive maintenance. During the storage stage, the integration of the artificial intelligence with the Internet of Things adjusts the real-time storage conditions, thereby by collecting the data from the sensors. So during the processing stage of the grain products, the machine learning boosts the efficiency, detects the contaminants, and prevents the machine failures. So together, these advances create a smarter and more resilient grain storage systems. With AI streamlining the distribution and transparency, let's now unpack the machine learning methods that power these intelligent systems, driving the predictions, classifications, and real-time decision making in the agri-food chain. The smart storage revolves around the uh, streamlining the supply chain and the distribution, quality control monitoring, process optimization, predictive maintenance, and the traceability. So AI is used to predict the consumer demands. Thereby, it helps the companies or the industries to optimize the inventories, and thereby it significantly reduces the qualitative and the quantitative loss of the food grains. So the combination of artificial intelligence with the blockchain technology, it adds to the another dimensional layer that enhances the transparency of the supply chain, as well as it enables the end-to-end traceability from the farm to table. So moving on, so artificial intelligence is a broader term that actually refers to how the human intelligence could be mimicked by the machines. So machine learning is a subset of the artificial intelligence that focuses on the machine algorithms that enables the computer to learn the data and improve their performance without being explicitly programmed. Whereas deep learning is a further subset of the machine learning. So there are three basic learning approaches in a machine learning that includes that includes the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and the reinforcement learning. So various common machine learning approaches that are used in agri-food sector includes the ordinary least square regression, principal component regression, support vector regression, and k nearest neighbor regression. So each of these methods enhances the prediction and the decision making in the storage and the quality control. Now let's that we have explored various common machine learning methods that could be applied in the grain storage. Let's look at how these technologies are actually transforming the real world applications with the powerful case studies. So the first case study is about enhancing the insect detection using AI powered image restoration. So the traditional image classifiers results in a low resolution noisy images. The limitations of the existing traditional image classifiers could be overcome with the advent of this AI with the deep learning approaches. One such approach is the low resolution image restoration classifier network, which is abbreviated as LRIRC net, that has the ability to convert the poor quality images into the high resolution images. So actually, this model is based on the generative adversarial network, which is a deep learning architecture that has a two components as highlighted over here, that is a generator and the discriminator. So here the generator creates a fake data that while the discriminator learns about the underlying patterns behind the acquired data. So here the discriminator is able to distinguish the real data from the fake data, and thereby it enhances the performance of both the neural networks. So the LRIRC net improves the stored grain insect classification by enhancing the low resolution noisy images. So that has resulted in a 19% higher recall that could be applied in the early stage of the storage when in a grain bins when the insects are low. And this approach paves the way for a more smarter automated grain storage management. So while the generative adversarial networks shown a remarkable success in restoring and classifying the image data, another powerful machine learning method is the artificial neural network that has gained the traction for a broad range of the agri-food applications, especially when the data is incomplete. And most of the biological data are often incomplete and it is highly variable. So the artificial neural networks are a highly powerful tool in handling this kind of a complex nonlinear, incomplete agri-food data. So they learn directly from the input-output pairs, making them adaptable and fault-tolerant. Unlike the traditional machine learning approaches, the artificial neural networks does not rely on the fixed equations. So that could make them ideal to be applied for the real-world variability. So in this figure, the artificial neural network architecture has been used to predict the fungal infestation in the stored barley. And further, this kind of ANNs could be used for the impact to assess the impact of the drying and the storage of the soybean quality. Further, it has been used to predict the quality changes that happened, that is physiochemical changes happened during the storage of the food grains. So moving on, while the artificial neural networks have the promising potential in modeling and the prediction of the quality during the storage stage, the recent advancements in the deep learning have taken a real-time decision making to the next level, especially in the pest management, where speed and accuracy are the most critical factors. So the series of steps involved in the real-time monitoring of insect detection and identification using deep learning has been shown over here. It starts with the data acquisition, processing, and data segmentation that involves the model building and training of the model to detect or classify the insects, and the further deployment in the actual warehouses or the silos. So actually, this case study utilizes a feature learning, which is a deep learning approach that enables the systems to extract the patterns directly from the raw data. So among the various models that has been tested, YOLO V8 model resulted in the 76% accuracy and the precision. And this scalable system helps in tackling the real world challenges in pest detection, and that could be able to commercialize improving the food safety in the grain storage. So moving on to the next illustrations on convolution neural network. So as we move from the visual recognition models to a more discrete, non-invasive detection strategies, the sound-based insect detection is emerging as a powerful tool in the stored pest management. So beyond the images, machine learning is now applied to the acoustic sensing for the pest detection. So in this case study, the microphones, using the microphones, the sounds of the various stored product insects like the rice weevil, red flower beetle, and the lesser grain borer has been detected and has been integrated with the convolution neural network model to classify the insects. So by converting the insect sounds into the spectrograms, the applied convolution neural network model achieved 84% accuracy that offers a passive solution for 24/7 pest monitoring. And this promising method still requires a validation in a real world conditions. Moving on, next we have the case study about how the machine vision systems, the machine learning approach could be applied in the classification of the rice grain damage in the milled rice. So this slide presents about the flow chart of the machine vision system developed to classify the damaged milled rice grains. It follows three distinct steps as like the data acquisition, data pre-processing, and the classification. The system employs the deep learning approach that utilizes different models like Efficient Net 80, ResNet, Inception V3, Mobile Net, and the V2 and V3. So among the tested models, the Efficient Net 80 resulted in a higher prediction accuracy of 98% with fast and compact performance, making it ideal for the quality monitoring in the markets and the trading of the food grains. So moving on, the future outlook on the smart grain storage management. So when we talk about the smart grain storage management, it is an cumulative, that is the integration of the Internet of Things, edge computing and cloud computing, artificial intelligence with the machine learning approaches, along with the blockchain traceability that helps in monitoring and analyze the silo conditions in the real time. So the data that are acquired from the grain bins using the sensors is used to create a dynamic digital twin, which is a virtual space that enables the predictive simulations and secure traceable decisions for the appropriate storage outcomes. So the future of the smart grain storage management will be more autonomous, data driven, and the sustainable. So the artificial intelligence and the machine learning driven solutions for the grain storage help tackle the socio-economic as well as the environmental challenges by enabling the real-time monitoring, predictive modeling, and the automation to reduce the qualitative as well as the quantitative losses of the food grains, and helps us to utilize the available resources more efficiently. So these technologies helps in transforming the linear economy into a more circular economy of the grain storage management system that empowers the farmers by providing the web-based or the mobile-based applications to provide timely decisions. So ensuring accessibility and inclusivity is a key in adopting this kind of the AI machine learning approaches, especially in developing countries. And there are few challenges like the regulatory issues and the infrastructural readiness that has to be addressed by the existing government and the stakeholders to fully utilize the advantages of the AI and machine learning in smart grain management system. So, to conclude, so the presentation highlights how the artificial intelligence and the machine learning are revolutionizing the food grain industry by improving the storage, quality assessment, and the supply chain efficiency through the technologies like the artificial neural networks or deep learning approaches by integrating the Internet of Things with the virtual spaces like the digital twins. So these innovations enhances the sustainability and the automation despite the challenges like the data privacy and the regulations has yet to be addressed. So overall, the artificial intelligence and the machine learning plays a vital role in reducing the food grain losses, in reducing the economic losses, promotes the economic growth, and enables the sustainable grain management. So thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. Packed full of information there, that presentation. You went through loads of case studies too and examples, so thank you so much. There's, again, a lot to think about. So we've got questions for you, and we've got questions for Digva as well, and Ryan. So Ryan, if you want to, join us. Maybe we'll start with you, Ryan, because you've got quite a few questions as well. And I guess I'm going to put 3 questions together here to start us off. What other crops are you looking at? I think you gave the example of soy. So are you just focusing on soy at the moment as you get established? What might you be looking in the future to work on? A next question around that, are there any regulation issues with what you're doing? So I think somebody asked if they were GMO, but also not just that, just regulation issues around, even if it wasn't more broadly around the technology that you're using. And the other question I had for you is, it was in the Q&A here, is this talking ability, can you inherit that? So can you show different stresses by different colors on one plant? So you've got lots of questions there. If you forget one, don't worry, I'll remind you.
All right. So number 1 was additional crops. So we are largely focused on the soybean market right now, but in the U.S., corn is the main, crop and the main money maker. So, in the future, I could see us exploring the possibility of corn. And then the second question was what? Oh, the regulatory status. Yeah. So we have USDA clearance, and it's been deregulated by the USDA, and we're actively undergoing FDA kind of regulatory pathways right now. And then kind of globally, I think, regulatory is challenging, but there's kind of clear pathways to get where we want to go. So it's definitely places we're exploring, but we're also focused kind of on the main kind of soybean growing regions. So North America and South America mainly. And then the last question was heritability. Yep. So these are integrated into the genome of the plant, so they are heritable. That's the
excellent. Yeah. No, that's perfect. So, and I guess there was another question as well around, can you, and you sort of mentioned this in your presentation as well. Yeah, about, and you talked about maybe, can you sort of then tell the difference between different stresses, I guess, and maybe, can you even get down to the level of different pest pressures? I'm not sure. Or is it just a generic sort of damage sort of signal? Or tell me about that.
Yeah, so the approach that we're taking is kind of a general response. So we would like it to at least turn on to multiple different kind of fungal pressures. Right now, we're kind of evaluating what that actually looks like. We don't know like if there's specific kind of patterns that specific pathogens have make. The idea of kind of stacking additional sensors, so a fungal and a insect sensor on the same plant, is an idea that we're exploring. Definitely.
Excellent. No, that's really interesting. Cool. Fascinating, actually. And is there any difference though, just between, I mean, I guess there's not, but is there stronger signals? I mean, I guess it depends on which gene you actually are using and what signals come out, but are there stronger signals from different stresses? For example, do pests cause more stresses than it's a bit of a maybe a silly question, but do different stresses cause stronger signals or less signals? Does that make
I would say
sense?
yes. So there's like some literature out there around like if you impose multiple stresses kind of the same time. There's a paper I'm thinking of, I can't recall who wrote it, but basically drought stress kind of trumps anything else. And then as you relieve that drought stress, you can start to see the kind of underlying stress that was kind of masked by that drought stress. So I would say yes. Like I think there's things that are, you know, the plant kind of prioritizes how it's going to deal with specific stresses. So you can evaluate that kind of on an RNA level and RNA-seq data to better understand, you know, the kind of the dynamics of the response and how big of a response you'll get with different stresses.
Excellent. Thanks. Good answer. Thanks a lot, Ryan. I'm going to just swap over to grain storages for a little while. And Duka, you've joined us, and thank you so much for joining us with Anukiruthika, who gave a wonderful presentation. I can see there was a question here that you've been busy answering, and it was a question from Tech Tay. Does the smart grain storage management system detect beetle larvae also? That is, do larvae make species distinct sound or noise? I was quite interested in this as well around, you're kind of listening to the beetles in this case, in the grain storage. So what was your answer there to that question? Maybe you could talk about that.
So Alison, if I understood correctly, you are saying whether larvae also make sounds?
Yeah, so does it detect beetle larvae also? So does the larvae make species distinct sounds when it's in, you know, a grain storage facility? And what if the pest species present in the stored grains was not the 3 targeted species? Will the system fail as well?
Yeah, so the sound system currently is based on the feeding behavior. So as long as, and it could be any stage of the larva or pupa, but mainly adults are what people have studied. So they are looking at the chewing pattern or sound coming from the feeding mechanism, and that's what they are having a unique signature. Different insects have a unique signature to that, and they use that signature to then identify the insects, and then based on identified insect, then they take a corrective action. Sorry, Anu.
No, sir. So yeah, as Dr. Jayas told, like actually the sound patterns, like the feeding behavior of the insect pest, are detected using the microphones, and that has been combined with the the sound patterns are converted to a spectrograms. Then they are like processed as like the image processing. So with that, it is able with the use of machine learning techniques to detect or classify the different stages of the infestations in the stored grains.
Excellent. Oh, that's very interesting. I've got another question here is, I guess I'm interested, is there, in either of you can answer this question, but how, there's a lot of research here and there's lots of excellent models. How is the industry embracing some of these different new tools? I mean, are you seeing this being used, these AI or these machine learning tools? Are you seeing them being adopted by the industry? And who are the main kind of countries that are really, I guess, progressing work in this area?
Yeah, the one area where I would say, I would say industry, or more than I would say farmers are adopting the technology, is the example Anu talked about, the insect detection using generative adversarial network and the deep learning tool to identify the insects. And that has been then transferred to the handheld, so like a smartphone. So if you take a picture, you are sampling your grain and you take a picture of the insect, you don't know what that insect is, You take that picture, and then the network then tells you what that insect is very quickly. And knowing that what this insect is, then you would apply the right chemical or right amount of chemical or treatment you would do. So that part, I would say certainly farmers are using for insect identification. Uh, but the other part, which again I would say farmers are using, is for controlling the drying system, grain drying systems. So it calculates based on the weather data, based on the conditions of the grain. It lets you know when to turn on the fan or when to turn off the fan, and make sure the drying is optimum. So gives you a uniform moisture content. So that technology is also being used by the farmers. So I think if you, I'm assuming, like I would say the farmers are part of the grain industry, but industry, like the grain handling companies, are not using the technology much. And the reason is because they are in the business of moving the grain. They are not the one storing and managing the grain. So it's the managers of the storage, grain storage, are the one who are using the technology.
It's very interesting. Thank you. I'll come back on that, I think. But before I sort of leave that question, you mentioned farmers, and I was going to ask Ryan as well. Farmers, you're working with farmers, and your product is very much aimed at supporting farmers and early intervention. What's the response of farmers to this sort of fluorescent sort of communication? I mean, are they fascinated, but are they adopting it like easily, or do they want to know more, or are they a bit cautious? Or it's always quite hard to change farmer behavior, so I'm interested to see what some of your tips are as well.
Yeah, so I think you've kind of laid out all of the different categories of farmers. There's some that are super gung-ho about trying new technologies. And we've actually brought in a group of farmers early on at Interplant, which we called the inner circle. So we actively took their input on kind of, farming and, what they would want out of a product, and kind of use that as kind of a starting point for Interplant. And then, so I think, you're going to get farmers that are going to want to try the product and want to use it. There's going to be some that you could probably persuade into using it as well. And then there's others that are just not going to use it at all. And that's just, hopefully what we'll say is their loss is, but hopefully as we deploy this and, they see their neighbors using the technology and seeing yield benefits or something like that, then they can kind of jump on the bandwagon as well.
Have you done cost benefit analysis around, I mean, what with this ability to have early intervention, or I mean, this information live, I guess, do the farmers save a lot of money because have you sort of looked at that, and have you got anything you can share in that?
I'm sure we've looked at it, but I'm the science person. I'm not exactly sure around all of the cost modeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry.
Excellent. No, it's excellent. No, I guess what I was struck was that, I mean, you had that picture of you can't see at this early stage that your plant is being, attacked by something, and being able to have that information must be incredibly valuable to a farmer, because hopefully that also not only does that result in early intervention, but a reduction in pesticide use, for example, which you mentioned at the very start is a huge problem. So it's really exciting technology. So it's fascinating. I'm going to go back to grains and storage now, and I guess the question there was, how much is the AI component, I guess, speeding up, and machine learning speeding up the intelligence, I guess, on pests and diseases and grain storage? You gave lots of examples, and you did give examples of the greater accuracy, but I mean, is this something that is speeding up in days or hours, or what kind of that real-time information? What does that mean for the decision making?
I think in the grain storage, the issue, as Dr. Anukiruthika identified is the spoilage loss is about 30%. So anything you do would eliminate part of it. So like insects cause certain damage, mold or fungi cause certain damage, poor grain drying causes certain damage, foreign material in the grain causes certain damage. So depending on what issue you are solving, so like insects probably, for example, cause the most damage. And knowing the kind of insects, so I would say identification of the insects and quick identification of the insect, that what right kind of insect you have, the corrective action you would take would have a better, otherwise you would have to use a higher dose. So like if you know, and the insect requirement to kill the insect depend on the species. So if you know what kind of insect it is, you would use that amount or that kind of chemical to kill that insect, versus applying when you don't know the insect, you would apply the largest amount of chemical. So it reduces the chemical, gives you the corrective action quickly. So it would then reduce the spoilage being caused by the insects.
Yep.
On the other hand, if you use and some work we have done on the fungal identification and identifying the fungal damaged kernels, in that case, it would give you reduction on the fungal damages. So depending on which problem you are trying to solve using the AI, the percentage value, which I think you can pick, like insects probably cause globally between out of 30%, probably third of it is caused by insects. So if you could make that process more efficient, you are going to reduce 10-12% of the grain spoilage loss globally. And that's quite significant, because about 3.6 billion tons of grains are produced. 10% of that is a huge amount of grain, which would be saved.
Definitely. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's obviously going to have a huge impact. I've got a quick question here that somebody has asked you, Dr. Anukiruthika. Is ultrasound with specific frequency used to detect rice weevil in warehouse? I know rice weevils are of topical interest here in this region.
Yeah. So specific frequencies could be used, like that depends. The frequency would vary, depends on the different species of the insects. So based on the feeding patterns or external or internal feeding, based on the insect species, we have to use the appropriate specific frequency to detect the insects in the stored grains.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask our other speakers, Rahul and Jolie, to join us. If you could, unmute yourself and we see your faces. That was perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got time for a few maybe quick questions, or if you have a question for another speaker, you're most welcome to request the floor as well to quiz somebody else in the hot seat. I guess I've got a question in general around there are concerns around AI as well, artificial intelligence, machine learning, where it's going, what it might lead to. I think Rahul had a nice sort of thought here that humans are always in control in your system. And I'm interested around whether that's always true with AI or will always be true in the future, and whether they're asking some concerns, and whether you see regulation is progressing at the same speed as the progression of AI, and whether that could be a problem. So maybe we'll start with Rahul, maybe we'll start with you. But is regulation keeping up with the pace of AI? Because I think you told me last week something like every 2 weeks is like a huge jump or leap in ability of AI to do things. So are we keeping up?
No, right? So I think we're seeing technology right now in whether it be genomics or the application of genomics, multiomics, and or AI, conventional or generative. It's growing. It's moving at rapid rate. So and we're aware that and the regulators are also aware that it is not keeping up. They are not able to keep up with the requirements. So the only, and it's a conundrum that we discovered once we started looking into how users, the usage patterns and so on and so forth, once you sort of open up a massive platform that has all these different things that you can do in it, the first thing that we had to do was make sure that the human always stays in the loop. And that's the only way to make sure that the regulators are confident that we are not letting the AI just steer itself. It cannot steer itself because it is always based on historic information, right? It can't create new information because it's generative. Maybe it will in the future. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we realized is we put the human in the loop, and then the AI got really good. And then we had to drag the human back into the loop again. And that's a behavioral change. It's not a technology change. It's not a regulatory change. It's a behavioral change, because overdependence on anything is bad. It is a form of addiction, if you will, if things just become too easy. So we're trying to make our effort has entirely been on making sure that there is a high degree of transparency in how the human is actually steering every single command and every single task. Each of those tasks have massive pipelines behind them, so they have their internal evaluations anyways. But other than beyond that, we're also trying to make sure that there are certain sort of guardrails that we have put in place. So, for example, this platform that we have, it operated in the coming iterations. We're going to deploy a series of guardrails that are based on research ethics documentations across multiple countries, which means the platform will inherently, all the models that we deploy in it, or large language models that we use in it, will inherently always follow those guidelines and those instructions of ethical use, sort of whatever is required really within the context, to make sure that the accuracy and the application always remains on point. So I don't think regulation is going to catch up with this, right? No time soon. Maybe in 5 years when something's plateaued, then we will see regulation catch up with it. But until then, we're taking a fully transparent kind of an approach. Transparency both to the user so they can see everything, and transparency both to the evaluator, if you will, so that they can see everything. And that way we can make sure that there is full trust.
Okay, excellent. Ryan, a question to you. So how fast is it all developing, like with AI, machine learning, all these different tools? What do you see sort of, is it every sort of month you've just kind of expanded into sort of a huge amount of more insight, or is it much slower, or are you keeping pace with the opportunities?
Yeah, so I'd say, like, basically anytime you do a literature search for a new tool or something, there's a new AI tool out there, a GitHub with some new model to try. But at least on like the plant science side of things, you want to be able to generate the data to actually like make your new AI model. And plants are very tough to deal with. They grow slow. There's long generation time. So it's a lot harder to do in kind of the plant sciences realm compared to, something working with E. coli, something where you can have generations, in a week, you can have so many different generations. So I'd say plant science is a little bit more limited, just in terms of kind of those constraints.
Excellent. Thanks, Ryan. And Jolie, that's a good introduction to maybe you, because you may have some thoughts on that from your perspective.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the fact that the intersection between the biology of whatever species we're working with, and the AI part of it is the most maybe limiting part. I mean, it's very difficult to tell different species apart just from visual and the angle at which you're gonna, or even a plant. And if you're following through for generations, multiple generations, or if a species that you're looking at has multiple forms that they take over their life, it's even harder. So I think, how fast that moves and what that looks like is a good question. And maybe that's a challenge associated with employing AI for biosecurity tools that maybe is underappreciated.
Excellent. Good insight. Thank you. And to our grain storage experts, both of you, what do you sort of see? Do you sort of see this area? Is it expanding at huge amounts every sort of month? Are there a lot of people working on AI? I mean, you gave lots of examples there. What's the sort of speed of the expansion of knowledge?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are working on, but the major focus has been on the areas which Anu identified in her presentation, like certainly insect identification, drying, classification of the grains, or defect detection in the grains. So those are the areas people are working on. In terms of the technology development side, I would say still is low. There are not too many companies yet moving into the market, developing the technologies. And probably the reason is it is a commodity market, but at the same time, farmer are, for example, a lot of farmers now, globally, I would say, are using handheld devices for weather data, for the pricing information, insect identification. So anything they can integrate in that data loop, they certainly are okay, like open to use that information. So depending on the application, I think it's becoming very commonly available technology and commonly used technology.
Well, it'll be an exciting space to watch. And as you say, it is a commodity market, but it is it's a big market. So there is a lot of waste and lots of opportunities and lots of money and lots of areas for people to get into there and really innovate. So thank you to all our wonderful speakers. It's been a really interesting session. I've learned a lot. What I really enjoyed was that we've got really different perspectives, but there are actually lots of common elements to all the presentations. And it'll be interesting, I think, in the future where AI can kind of bring some of these diverse areas that share lots of common elements, and think about more systems approaches. Maybe that's one of the big opportunities that AI can bring, which just requires a lot of data and information. But at the heart of it, people are very important, and it'll be interesting to see the different roles that we all take as these technologies really advance quite quickly. So this is just a taste. Really, this session, it's the first time we've actually looked at AI. We've looked a lot around drones, which also deploys AI, but this is the first time we really wanted to focus on this. So it's been a fantastic introduction. Really, really nice to hear from all of you. We really appreciate the time that you've spent with us. I'd like to also thank the audience. Lots of great questions, lots of interaction there. People from all across the region and all across the world, but particularly in our Southeast Asia region. And some other people that are up early in the morning in Europe as well. So thank you so much. That brings us to an end. We will be sharing the presentations. They will be on our YouTube page as well, and we'll be sharing that within the next week, and we'll send out an email. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good day wherever you are, or a good night's sleep for those joining from North America. Thank you for your time. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you for bringing us together, Alison.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheers.
Bye.